Well, howdy, and welcome to. It's such a habit at this point that I almost can't help it. But while it may not seem like it quite yet, this is something new and different, and as such, is deserving of an intro that's equally new and different. Which I'm now realizing I neglected to come up with. Well, that's a problem for future me. How about we skip right on ahead to the main course and figure this all out later? Go ahead and play the music, I suppose. Well, not that music. Like I said, we need something different. Okay, well, maybe not that different. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I think this'll work just fine. Let's go. When we last left each other, I was talking about how we'd reached a point in conversations with Coyotes where it didn't feel like the series was quite on the right path. Don't get me wrong, it was fine, and there were episodes that I'm really proud of, but it also felt a little unfocused and disparate, especially taking into account the earlier unscripted episodes. Which is why I felt that number 50 was a good stopping point in order to force myself to reset a little bit and think about something new, and hopefully improved. To do that, I tried to focus on three main areas: content, presentation, and branding. So let's take a deeper dive into each of those and see what we come up with. The main struggle I've had with my content is that while each individual episode felt reasonably well written and cohesive, there wasn't a good thread to pull them all together. Every new episode was somewhat unpredictable in that it could be incredibly serious, particularly last year when there were so many goings on that ignoring them would be a disservice to myself and to y'all, or it could be something completely frivolous. I do appreciate that back and forth because I didn't set out to make a channel that was all serious all the time, but there's inevitably some whiplash when bouncing from one end of the spectrum to the other. This made me think about how the series started and, technically, ended as a Q&A, and how a question as a prompt can really be an effective catalyst for a topic. So maybe I run with that idea, but instead of a rapid-fire series of questions and answers, each episode is built around a single question. There doesn't necessarily have to be a definitive answer, but it feels like a sustainable approach that allows me to mix ideas from y'all with ones of my own, all in a way that doesn't feel wildly inconsistent. With all of my content problems now solved forever, the next step is to figure out how all of that translates into a video. Obviously, the easiest approach is to just keep doing what I've been doing, which means 99% of each episode is just me talking at the camera. That's fine, but when your face only has the one expression, it might get a little stale. There's definitely an opportunity to add in additional imagery and footage to break things up a little more, assuming any exists for the topic at hand. One thing I don't want to get rid of, though, is the little text asides that have been here from the beginning, but I think they could work a little harder. Back in the Dialogues with Donkeys episode, they were somewhat more conversational and interactive, and that could be neat going forward. Yeah, like that. This idea, as much as I enjoy it, isn't without issue because to take the text from something incidental to actually delivering critical bits of content means that it also needs some sort of voiceover or you run into accessibility issues. So the text would also have to be spoken? That's exactly what I'm saying, and I don't know yet how I feel about it. It seems like kinda a lot. Right. And part of this is that I don't want to suddenly increase the workload for every video if the end result isn't something I feel strongly about. But that also brings up another issue, and that's backgrounds. I've struggled with finding the right setting to film in ever since this started, which is why you'll see me recording from all sorts of different rooms. While this helped keep every video from feeling exactly the same, there was never a setting that felt truly right. Every background was sort of busy and distracting in its own way, which might not be an issue if there was a story there, but it's mostly just random house stuff doing what house stuff does. The busy background also makes those little captions difficult because there isn't a great place for them where they're guaranteed to be easily legible all the time. They've typically been on the bottom because it felt like a natural place for them, but without some sort of underlay or heavy drop shadow, they run the risk of being tough to read. So I can't quite figure out... What? Oh. Has this been here the whole time? And if I just move over a little, well, now we have a place not just for text, but also graphics. As with the previous series, these are just starting points. Things will almost certainly evolve as I figure out what does and doesn't work, and part of the process is to be willing to adapt and iterate, which is good for me because those are Coyote specialties. So I feel like I've made some good progress with these changes. They're relatively simple, but will hopefully go a long way towards pushing this new series in the right direction. Now, all we need to do is wrap everything up in a nice little bow so that people will want to watch it, right? Easier said than done, I suppose, but we gotta try anyway. It's an obvious time to explore some new color and typographic treatments, but we can't stop there. Thumbnails might be one of the most crucial tools in piquing someone's curiosity, and I'll admit that mine have not been working very hard. As much as I like them, there's been some valid criticism that they don't stand out enough. One challenge was figuring out where to place the text in relation to the obligatory screen cap from the video, but thanks to rearranging our framing, I think that problem has somewhat already been resolved. Now we have a blank space to write our name without covering up my pretty face. But speaking of names, what do we call this? We've already established that Conversations with Coyotes belongs in the past, considering the conversations have always been pretty one-sided. Interestingly, the original title of Questions for Coyotes remains surprisingly accurate. Except, it's only one question and I'm only one coyote. And what if I'm not always here? What if one of those other fellas steps in when a question is more in their wheelhouse? I really feel like something more general would work in our favor. Ideally something furry adjacent, but still a little purposefully vague. And obviously there needs to be a new title sequence to go along with the new title. Nothing too long, just something snappy and informative. I imagine it could look something like this. I think that'll work just fine. Although, we'd probably want to put it closer to the start of the video next time. Anyway, I appreciate you sticking with me as I figure all this out, and if you have a question you'd like me to sink my teeth into, leave a comment here or hit me up over on Twitter. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch y'all later. Not everything needs to change.